Hey guys, welcome back. In this video, we will be covering about the best practices which we should ideally follow while building any Mule application. It is regardless of Mule 3 or Mule 4 version. These are being pretty much generic in nature. So without any further ado, let's get started with the best practices. So this best practices is being given by many of the major experienced people who are in their field of integration. So we are having uh, Ruth and Matt, and both of these guys are the engineering architect or the enterprise architect who are taking care of different integrations within their organization. So just to set the context, we will be discussing about the ideally followed best practices in order to ensure our Mule application remains within the good shape on a longer run of time, and it should be scalable to all other changes within the agile methodology. It should not make and break. Okay, it should be consistent every time. So considering that all the aspects into the mind, I have created this particular presentation. So let's get started. So best practices to build Mule application. First of all, we will talking about the Anypoint Studio setup. First of all, with every version update of Studio, it comes up with with latest features, whether it is about the unit recording or many memory leakage are being handled, and different sort of other bugs are being settled down with every new release of Anypoint Studio. Personally speaking, 760 is the latest and the stable version of Anypoint Studio, and I am liking it very much. So I would suggest you, each one of you, to upgrade to the latest 760 version, and it comes up with the embedded 430 mule runtime, and it is pretty much stable. So go for it. Secondly, the Open JDK version, it should be the latest one, because again, for the same reasons, with every new version, it comes up with latest bug fixes and new functionalities. So 180222 is the latest Open JDK version, which I am currently using, and I think it is the latest one as well. Similarly, keep an eye on the MMP plugin, that is Mule Maven plugin for automated deployments, and check out if it is the latest version, it is being referred in your POM XML or not. Now coming to the defining the project structure, we should have the different separate XML files for global elements for each use case or the functionality, and for the common structures or logic, so that each thing can be used as a shared resources somehow within the same project hierarchy. Similarly, for any other thing like WSDLs, sample JSONs, test resources, it should be accordingly placed in their project structure folders like SRC test resources, or for API we should have different folders. So it should be clean and well structured. Otherwise, it can create mess at any point of time, because if the same code is being into the hands of different developers or different Scrum teams, it may create a problem. So ideally, this should be followed. Thank you. So the next one is about the indentation and the formatting. It is very important to make our code readable. So we have to add indentation and format to all of our XML files before committing to the GitHub or GitLab or any other code repository, whatever you are using. Ideally, 140.d is the line with which ideally we should follow, and there should be a perfect naming convention, or I must say the nomenclature which we should follow. Either it should be camel casing or all small in letters. Some logic should be there so that it should be uniform throughout your project structure. So the next thing is about managing the properties per environment. So if you are having multiple environments like dev, stage, UAT, pet, production, so you should be having multiple property files to separate out the different default values, and which can be managed through the Anypoint Runtime Manager. Don't use a single file, it will create a lot of problems. Next thing is about the app building best practice. So whenever you are building your new app, avoid packaging the configuration file for all the environment inside the application. Instead, use a YAML file to provide the default properties and runtime manager to override each of these properties at the deployment time. So what I mean to say, if there is a file which is being named as mule-dev.properties, so this dev environment should be picked up from our YAML file and which should be configurable at the runtime manager level. It will give you more flexibility. The next thing is about the components in the connector. That's the best practices. So API kit. API kit. When we are using the API kit, consider the following guidelines. Use features to generate the flows automatically using your API spec. That is from the RAML. You can directly create the flows and use the default API kit exception strategy to catch connector related errors. It normally creates on error propagate error scope, so you should go by that, and you can add on top of it, but don't change anything onto the connector code and the message level. It should be remain native only. Data view. So use inline script during the development phase, and to have a clean XML and usable script, you can pass these scripts to an external DWL file. And how to create those DWL files, you can refer any one of the videos in of my playlist under data view. So you will come to know like how to use the DWL file and how to refer it back. It will make your code basically very clean and easy to read. The next thing is about the flows. Uh, Always have a clear flow diagram showing the steps of the use case. Even you can put the logical description within the each step, and you can use a flow reference to separate and reuse common logic. So basically the idea behind here is to have a shared, or if there is anything common functionality, we should not rewrite it again. It should be reusable. So better to have a separate flow references. Okay, the next one is about the file connector. So it's better to give the main path within the file config and the relative path in the configuration path. So what I mean to say, we should place the working directory location somewhere in this file connection working directory, and this path that is under the file, it should be independent of the actual path. Otherwise this name of the file will remain constant, let's suppose, in every environment, but there are chances like this working directory or the file config path may get changed depending on the environment. So let's clean it up to the path only with the file name. Now about the HTTP and HTTPS. So depending upon the deployment model, um, if there is anything you are using Cloud Hub or hybrid using HTTP, it should be on 8081, and if there is HTTPS, go for 8082. Private port should be used when deploying Cloud Hub using 8091 as HTTP and 8092 as HTTPS, and when you are using DLB. We will be covering the DLB in more detail in future videos which I am going to create very soon. The next thing is about the Apache Kafka connector. So if you don't know much about Apache Kafka connector for now, I would recommend you to have a look on one of my previous videos, which is already there in under the advanced playlist. Uh, it will help you to understand the basics of Apache Kafka. But coming to the best practices, we should have bootstrap server configuration onto a separate property file, and the property placeholder should be either in a YAML or property file, and we should be referred that in the configuration. So these are the examples which are being shown over here. And similarly, Apache Kafka connector provides consumer and the producer properties. So this should be maintained under SRC main resources so that it can be referred under Mule app properties as well. So just to make sure everything which is configurable and is at the properties level, we can locate at a single file Mule app itself. So this was all about a very short presentation about the basics which we should follow ideally in order to make sure our applications are well in sync and following the best practices. Uh, it will make our project much easy to read and easy to maintain when it is going through the multiple hands of developers or the Scrum teams. I hope you like this video and thanks for watching.